Attackers in China's restive Zhejiang region have crashed 2 cars into shoppers at a market, killing 31 people. They also threw explosives during the attack in the regional capital, and more than 90 people were injured. The Ministry of Public Security called it a violent terrorist incident. Then, Thailand's army chief has announced a coup d'etat, saying the military is taking control of the government. In a televised statement, the army chief said the military would restore order and enact political reforms. It came after 2 days of inconclusive talks by the main political factions, and the army sealed off the talks venue and took the leaders away. Finally, Ukraine's government has confirmed a deadly attack on troops in the eastern region of Donetsk, with reports saying at least 11 soldiers were killed. Heavily armed terrorists attacked a checkpoint in the Volnovakha area, killing or wounding a number of soldiers. There is some contradiction as regards the death toll. While Associated Press journalists counted 11 bodies at the scene, a Russian website says 15 soldiers were killed.
Now, for those of us who were anticipating the conclusion of the trial of the decade, and by that I'm referring to the Oscar Pistorius trial, we're going to have to play the waiting game together. That's because the judge in the trial has ordered him to start daily tests from next Monday in order to assess his mental state when he killed his girlfriend. The judge told the South African athlete to attend West Kopi's psychiatric hospital in Pretoria as an outpatient for a month, and this comes after a defense witness said the double amputee was suffering from generalized anxiety disorder.
South African Olympic and Paralympic track star Oscar Pistorius was ordered on Tuesday to undergo a month of psychiatric tests to find out whether he was criminally responsible on the night he shot dead his girlfriend on February 14th last year. Judge Thokozile Masipa told Pistorius he had to report to Pretoria's West Kopi's Hospital, one of South Africa's top mental institutions, as an outpatient for up to 30 days starting on May 26.
1.1 that the accused present himself as an outpatient to the medical superintendent of the West Kopi's Hospital on 26 May 2014 at 9 o'clock in the morning, and on every weekday thereafter at such times as may be determined by the medical superintendent for a period not exceeding 30 days at a time, as the court may from time to time determine. 1.2 that the accused remains at the West Kopi's Hospital until 1600 hours daily, or until such time that he is formally excused by the medical superintendent of the hospital or the person designated by the medical superintendent.
Masipa said the evaluation will be conducted in order to determine whether the accused by reason of mental illness or mental defect was at the time of the commission of the offense criminally responsible for the offense as charged.
A psychiatrist appointed in terms of the provisions of Section 79, subsection 1B(1), inquire into whether the accused, by reason of mental illness or mental defect, was at the time of the commission of the offense criminally responsible for the offenses charged, whether he was capable of appreciating the wrongfulness of his act or of acting in accordance with an appreciation of the wrongfulness of his act.
Pistorius stood still in the dock, dressed in a black suit and tie, listening intently to details of the order.
The appointed psychiatrist and psychologist shall submit their reports compiled in terms of Section 79(3) to 5 of the Act to the registrar of this court, as well as to the Director of Public Prosecutions and the accused as soon as it is concluded. 5, that the record of the court proceedings be made available to the said psychiatrist and psychologist should they regard it necessary to peruse same or any part thereof. And 6, that the matter be postponed to 30 June 2014.
The Olympic star could face a life sentence if he is found guilty of murdering his model girlfriend, River Steenkamp, who was shot and killed at his upmarket home in Pretoria last year. Pistorius has denied he killed Steenkamp in cold blood, saying he shot 4 times at the toilet door of his luxury Pretoria home to protect himself from what he thought was an intruder. The trial that has dragged on for nearly 3 months resumes on June 30.
Egyptians will be heading to the polls next week to elect a new president, and without surprise, demonstrations were in full swing this week. Sadly, things turned violent when 3 riot police were killed as they tried to disperse protesters. For now, we're going to focus our attention on what exactly it is that Egyptians are saying as regards the favorite presidential candidate, Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
Posters of the former defense minister turned presidential candidate are plastered on almost every wall, and banners hang festively across streets and from balconies. Sisi is widely expected to defeat his only challenger, leftist Hamdin Tabahi, in next week's ballot. His supporters see Sisi as a savior who can end the political turmoil dogging Egypt since a popular uprising ended Hosni Mubarak's 3 decades of one-man rule in 2011.
What we need now is a leader, a military man, because that is who would rule the country well. Nothing but a military man will do. Did you get rid of Mercy to just bring in another like him? That doesn't work. What we need is the man who rescued the country. The man who truly rescued the country when it was drowning is Abdel Fattah al-Sisi.
But while Sisi is a savior to some, others see him in the continuation of the anti-democratic practices of the Mubarak era. Sisi played a prominent role in the interim government following Mercy's ouster, and rights activists say the last 10 months have been characterized by severe abuses by the security forces and restrictions on free expression. Indeed, security forces killed over 1,500 Mercy supporters in the streets in August in the bloodiest civil unrest in Egypt's modern history. Tens of thousands of alleged Brotherhood supporters are also in jail, and the senior Brotherhood leadership is on trial on charges ranging from treason to murder. But supporters of the man who ousted Mercy say that his critics are misguided. Rather than subvert the democratic process, Sisi rescued the nation from a cult of religious extremists who hijacked the 2011 revolution. And as a military man with a track record of success, only him can set the country on the right course. General Samir al-Sunni, a close friend of Sisi's in primary school who joined the military with him, says that Sisi has qualities badly needed in Egypt right now.
When he says something, I believe he's able to follow through. That's because he has been like that his whole life. He is committed to what he says. He understands and studies it and plans out how he will execute it, because that is what he learned at military college. That has been his life, and he has succeeded in everything he has managed, at every level that he has worked.
With much at stake for the man who will likely be Egypt's next president, the people who knew him best in Gamaleya are optimistic about Sisi's ability to get the country on course. But after 2 presidents have been unceremoniously booted from power in 3 years, they are also anxious about his fate, should he fail.
Speaking of Egypt, a court in the country has sentenced former President Hosni Mubarak to 3 years in prison after finding him guilty of embezzling public funds, and his 2 sons, Alaa and Gamal, were also convicted and given 4-year terms. The 3 were also fined $3 million in order to repay $17.6 million, which they were accused of stealing. The 86-year-old is also on trial for abuse of power and conspiring in the killing of protesters during the 2011 uprising that forced him to resign. He was found guilty of the charges relating to the protesters in 2012, along with former Interior Minister Habib al-Adli, and sentenced to life in prison. But in January 2013, the Court of Cassation upheld an appeal by the two men against their convictions on technical grounds and ordered a retrial. Welcome back to Network Africa. Now, just before I take a bow, let's touch down in Libya, where 3 years ago, what was deemed the unthinkable happened when a higher education department in the country launched a new television channel, and that was in a bid to train the next generation of journalists and filmmakers. Here's the rest of the story.
Full-Moon TV first hit the airwaves in April, offering students a chance to learn the essential skills of television production. Before the uprising that drove Muammar Gaddafi from power, state censors held the media under tight scrutiny, and newspaper often published identical articles provided by the state. Journalists who broke the rules were either jailed or kidnapped. But Gaddafi's fall in 2011 led to a boom in local newspapers, magazines and television stations, and now a new generation is learning to adapt to the new environment.
We would like to boost the media sector in Libya and provide them technical teams. When you look at the number of TV channels, you find that there are a large number of channels. Unlike in the time of the former regime, when only certain people were allowed to work in the media.
Students at the Institute say they are able to produce creative programs far from the standard productions of the past.
The documentary films that we make are not like the ones you see. The films are different and done in a new way. It has to be done in an indirect way to reach people.
More than 500 students will be graduating from the Art Institute this year, hoping to find jobs in Libya's nascent media industry.
And with that, I take a bow on this episode of Network Africa. But of course, you know, I look forward to your comments and questions, so keep them coming via SMS to the number on your screen. Till next time, stay blessed and proudly African. I'm Cynthia Are. Bye for now.
A time comes in the life of every